Is your basmati rice whole grain? It's a question I always ask whenever people, including my patients, tell me, Doctor, I have recently switched my choice of rice to basmati rice because I have heard that it is supposed to be healthier. I do that because I have found that most people do not realize that they have a choice when it comes to basmati rice. That is, they can choose between brown basmati rice, the whole grain form of basmati rice, or white basmati rice, the refined grain form of basmati rice. And that most of the basmati rice available in the supermarkets are the refined grain version of basmati rice, that is white basmati rice. Do you consciously choose to have basmati rice over other varieties of rice for health benefits reasons? Do you have some basmati rice in your kitchen pantry right now? If you do, did you choose to have whole grain brown basmati rice or the refined white basmati rice? Or you, like most people I know, actually do not know, and you got the basmati rice without consciously checking or choosing whether it is whole grain or not? This video is for you. Some of you may be surprised that I am actually making a whole video on this. You would have thought that this is quite basic, right? And everybody should have known. But from my experience helping and coaching my patients make better food choices, I had found that many people think that all basmati rice that they find in the supermarket are the same. So I hope that after watching this video, you would have a clearer understanding of the different types of basmati rice available at the supermarkets, and that you would know what to look out for on the packaging to help you make better informed food choices, regardless of whether you were specifically looking for whole grain rice or not, or if you were actually trying to avoid whole grain rice for whatever reasons. I thought that before I jump into the tips on how to make sure that the basmati rice that you're getting is whole grain or not, I should give a mini tutorial on rice, where basmati rice sits in the scientific classification of rice, the different parts of a rice grain, and what is removed during rice processing that turns a whole grain rice into a refined grain rice. But before I start, I want to highlight that I am not covering this in this video, whether it is the nutritional information or health benefits of whole grains or basmati rice. For those of you who are new to my channel, I am Dr. Chan. I am a medical doctor from Singapore. My work and passion is in the area of training and coaching people to modify their lifestyle and eating habits to combat diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and other chronic diseases modifiable by lifestyle changes. So let's start. Let's start with the short tutorial on rice. This is a scientific classification of rice. Basmati rice is a variety or cultivar of rice belonging to the subspecies called Oryza Sativa Indica. Indica rice are often long grain, thin and fluffy. There are many different Indica rice. Basmati rice and jasmine rice are two of the very popular Indica rice that many of us here in Asia, including Singapore, are familiar with. The other common subspecies of rice is the Oryza sativa japonica. Japonica rice are often short grain, rounder, and thicker than the Indica rice. Examples of Japonica rice are the arbora rice, often used in risotto, or the cow roast or koshihikari rice, often used in making sushi. So all these different varieties or cultivars of rice will have to undergo some form of rice processing before they can become edible and can be processed into and sold as either whole grain rice such as brown rice or further processed into refined grain rice and sold as white rice. Now let's have a quick look at the different parts of a rice grain and what happens to the different parts during processing. The natural unprocessed rice grain has 4 parts. The outermost inedible protective covering called the husk or the hull. Then inside that is the bran, which is the edible outer layer of a rice grain, which is rich in fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Next comes the germ, the nutrient-packed core that is full of phytochemicals, vitamins, and healthy fats. The endosperm is the starchy middle layer, and it is also the biggest part of a rice grain. During processing, after the husk or the hull is removed, we get a whole grain rice. Whole grain rice retains the color of the rice, most commonly brown. So that is why oftentimes people tend to use the terms whole grain rice and brown rice interchangeably to mean the same thing, although that is technically not correct, because whole grain rice can also come in other colors too, such as red rice or black rice. If you put the whole grain through further processing by removing the bran and the germ layers, leaving only the endosperm, we are left with a refined grain, often white in color. That is why we also often use the term white rice to mean the same thing as refined grained rice. So as you can see from here, when you compare the different parts of a rice grain that is in the whole grain rice or brown rice with refined grain white rice, it is quite obvious why whole grain or brown rice is more nutritious than white rice. So you can see white rice or brown rice can come from any rice variety or cultivars. Or see it the other way, all these different variety of rice, including Basmati rice, can be turned into either brown rice or white rice. Here comes a question. Is your Basmati rice whole grain? If you have Basmati rice at home right now, do you know whether it is whole grain brown Basmati rice or is your Basmati rice refined white Basmati rice? Did you consciously want to and look out for one or the other? Or did you, like most people I know, only look out for the Basmati rice label without caring for or checking whether it is whole grain or not? I actually went to research online on the websites of a few supermarkets, and I found that most of the Basmati rice sold at supermarkets are refined grain white rice. One of the websites I checked had 47 different types of Basmati rice for sale, of which 39 are white Basmati rice and only 8 are whole grain brown Basmati rice. So if you were not specifically looking out for whole grain Basmati rice, but were just picking out a Basmati rice randomly at the supermarkets, the chances are that the Basmati rice that you pick is more likely to be white Basmati rice and not whole grain. And the other thing I found was that the information on the rice packaging denoting that it is whole grain or not may not be that obvious or clear. Even for a person consciously trying to look out for the whole grain version of Basmati rice, it can be a bit confusing. Usually on the packaging of most Basmati rice, you will find a lot of text, often describing where it is from, how it was cultivated, how it was processed, or how nutritious it is. And sometimes you would also find labels such as low GI or even 100% whole kernel in Basmati rice packaging. But these two labels may not mean that the rice is whole grain. There are white rice, especially those that have undergone some kind of special processing, that are also low GI, even though they are refined grain white rice. And there are also some white rice with the label 100% whole kernel on their packaging. So even if you find these two labels on your Basmati rice packaging, they may still not be whole grain. I found that the only labels on the Basmati rice packaging that we can confidently take it to mean that the rice is whole grain are the labels whole grain or brown Basmati rice. So the next time that you are at the supermarket facing a whole variety of rice and making a choice on which to buy, remember, you are actually not choosing between whether to buy white rice, red rice, brown rice, or Basmati rice, but rather you are first having to choose a specific variety of rice first. And in this case, for this example, you have decided to choose Basmati rice. And then after that, you still have a choice to make. You can still decide to choose whether you want the refined grain version or the whole grain version of Basmati rice. And if you want a whole grain version of Basmati rice, then you should look out for the labels 100% whole grain or brown Basmati rice on the rice packaging. I am so passionate about this topic of Basmati rice because I've seen many people, including my patients, when they're undergoing lifestyle and eating habits change to better control their blood sugar or for better health in general, making many mistakes when they're making this switch from other rice varieties to Basmati rice. In fact, I make this video on 4 common mistakes that many people make when switching to Basmati rice. This video is on my other YouTube channel where I put all my podcast episodes focusing on tackling misconceptions, mistakes, and mindsets that are critical in jump-starting lifestyle and eating habits change to prevent and combat chronic diseases. I shall leave the link to this video in the show notes below. I hope you have found this video useful and now better equipped after watching this video to make a more informed choice when you next go shopping for your Basmati rice. I have many such similar content related to preventing and combating chronic diseases through lifestyle habits change on my blog and my website. I shall also leave the links to them in the show notes below. I'm Dr. Chan. Let habits be thy medicine. Take care.